I will bring the Monday, April 27th meeting of the Bloomington Human Rights Commission to order and welcome each and every one of you to this new way of meeting you all. I wish we were in person, of course, but here we are, and that is all right. We're getting our business done, and we're taking care of that in this way, and I'm glad that you all are able to attend. We need to go ahead and approve the minutes for February 24th, which was the last time that we did meet. And for that, does anybody have any objection to the minutes being approved? Any corrections?
No objection.
Okay. Nicole will need to call the roll to approve the minutes. So Nicole, please call the roll.
All right. Brian?
Yes.
Jacob?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Byron?
Yes.
Latasha?
Yes.
Meetings have minutes, not meetings. Our meeting minutes have been approved, and we will carry on now to unfinished business, and we will now talk about the essay and arts contest. Barbara?
Well, as I think you all know, the judges selected the winners of the contest, and we sent out letters to the
Barbara,
Yes.
your voice is not coming in as clearly as it ought. It might be on my end, but.
Could you speak a little louder, Barbara?
Sure, I'll try. The judges selected the winners. We sent notices out to the teachers of the winners to let them know, and we also sent out the prizes to the students, to the teachers, for the teachers to get to the students, and we let them know that they had won. They got their certificate. They got their win back passes. We will do our best to try to recognize them some way as soon as we can, probably in the fall. And we haven't, we don't have plans on that yet because we can't plan anything. But we did get the prizes out to the kids. They do know they won. They've been invited to the meeting. I don't think any of them have signed in, but they know about this meeting. And Nicole has a quick slideshow to show the winners. Briefly, do you want to show that?
Yeah. So it started with the essays. They were a little bit easier. And if Jacob or Carolyn want to say something about the ones that they selected, that might be helpful as well.
Yeah.
And each one, because I didn't know if the students would be here.
Jacob, were you going to speak?
Yeah. Should we read a short excerpt of each, or?
Yes, and may I just say that this is probably the 5th or 6th time that I've had an opportunity to read essays that are written by these students, and I just want the word to go forth that I found those essays to be really, really insightful. And I was so impressed to learn that one of the students, perhaps not one of the winners, but one of the students had quoted John Rawls' theory of justice, and I thought, wow, that's really powerful.
Very good.
For students that young to be thinking of a theory of justice and reading about that gentleman, because a theory of justice is really thickly textured, and so I was very impressed by that.
Yeah, I echo Carolyn's comments. And so for Joanna, this is an excerpt we liked about her essay. I admire Catherine Switzer because she has made women and men more equal. In 1967, she was the first woman to officially run the Boston Marathon. Back then, women weren't allowed to run the race. She didn't want to prove anything. She just wanted to run a marathon. She made a change in women's equality, and I like that. It makes us all more equal. I personally enjoy running in races. I ran 2 5K races in 2019. If it wasn't for Catherine Switzer, I might have not been able to.
Carolyn, did you want to read from one of the essays you personally especially liked?
Yes, I would also like to read from Aurora Darling's essay. She begins by saying, I believe that in a place where we are free and equal, we would all have good food and clean water. Women would be equal to men and would make the same amount of money as them, no matter what kind of job they work at. We would all have jobs and money. Everyone would have the right to go to good schools and have a safe place to live. We would all have an equal chance to get the jobs to earn money to buy food. I like the fact that she was very, very concrete and specific.
And the winning art you can see in the slideshow, and Pam just shows. And we have a press release ready to go out. We need approval from the mayor's office. We have a press release announcing the winners. And like I said, I hope we can do a more formal ceremony in the fall. Well, not very formal, but more formal than this, or in person at least. I was concerned that the Wonderland passes expire at the end of the year, and who knows when the kids will be able to go there, but I've been assured that if somehow the kids are not able to go to Wonderland this year, they'll work with us and extend those passes to the facility.
What you're seeing now is the third place winner for the younger students.
Read this, what the artist's name?
Sophia Vanden Dries.
For some reason, I'm missing portions of the audio.
We'll try to speak up.
Thank you.
You want to show them?
Another one's yeah. And then this one is from Phoebe Mendota. And when I was updating the press release, Phoebe actually won last year.
Yeah, so I recognize her name. Yeah, we have repeat offenders sometimes. Well, that's not the right word.
And this was the first place one, and it was a two-sided poster board as well as a handprint drawing that accompanied it. And then for the older students, we had a group project that took third place. And then this was the project that took second place. And here was the first place one with Claire Tweed.
Any students who are watching, we congratulate you, and we hope to hear from you. I hope to be in real contact with you before too long.
Excellent. Thank you all for all of your work in judging and grading the essays and the art projects. I know it's a time every time Carolyn and I get together to grade the essays, so thank you all for all you do, and congratulations to all the winners. I really sincerely hope that we are able to get together with you all in the fall and actually reward you in a public manner that you all deserve to be rewarded in. So thanks for submitting, and to our commissioners, thank you for doing all the grading. We complete on that for now. Anybody have any other additional comments to make about the essay or art contest?
I would also like to add that the essays were more creative. They did not have the cookie cutter approach that they've had in the past. And so my hats go off to students who really did a beautiful job of writing creatively.
Anybody else? Okay. Hearing none, we will move on to our the Human Rights Award update.
You could do that, Ryan.
Okay. Yeah. We, as you all know, Cindy Stone did win that award, and we will hopefully get to a point where we're able to award her her trophy and give her some public accolades at a city council meeting in the future. Obviously, we have not gotten to do that yet, so we will hopefully get to do that here in the near future.
But she does know she wanted, and it'll be mentioned in the May newsletter, or was it in the April? It was in the April newsletter, and we got the plaque to give her whenever we will give her the plaque.
Great. Okay, is Michael joining us?
He said he might be a little late, so you might want to jump to the next thing. He hasn't joined in yet. Right?
Okay, we will move on to the first quarter director's report.
And that's in your packet, and I'd be glad to answer any questions. Once the virus hit, we've not been getting a lot of calls from the public. We're not getting just a lot of inquiries about human rights issues right now. I think it's not a top priority for people at the moment. So there's quite a few calls in here because it covers January and February, but once the virus hit, things really slowed down from the BHRC perspective.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or any concern about the first quarter report?
I don't have any questions. I did notice that a lot of people who have called in don't fit our criteria in terms of jurisdiction. And some of them have very mistaken notions about what a Human Rights Commission is, but there are just a lot of folks who probably are not getting a lot of satisfaction because they're calling the wrong place, or they don't, or there is no place for them to call.
Byron, your audio is going in and out. I can't hear you.
Okay, well, I don't know what to do about that. Are other people having the same audio problems? Yeah.
Yes.
You do keep cutting in and out a little bit, Byron, but I've heard everything that you've said.
Okay. Just a comment, that's all.
Were you saying that a lot of people who call us are not calling about BHRC matters?
I couldn't quite hear you that time, Barbara.
Were you saying that a lot of the calls we get are not really BHRC issues, but they're other things?
Apparently, yeah, that's the way it seems, that we just don't have jurisdiction, and some people misunderstand what our role is, or they have what they think is a human rights issue, but it's really some other kind of issue.
Carolyn, were you mentioning anything?
No, I was just listening.
Okay.
And I was really thinking whether there is anything we might be able to do in addition to the marvelous things we've done in the past in terms of letting people know jurisdictional issues and range. I don't know what else we might do to ensure that people find the right place at the right moment.
I think that's really a one-on-one thing. People call us because they don't have any idea where to call a lot of times. And I usually can make them a referral. And sometimes there's no referral possible. But most of the time, I've been doing this long enough, I can make a referral. So I think that's a useful thing that we can do, at least some of the time. But people don't understand what the term human rights means. And I think you have to educate people that one-on-one really.
And I understand that, and I don't think any harm is coming from the pursuit of a remedy for a problem that these individuals may have.
Right. People think we do unemployment, they think we do lots of things we don't do.
Mm-hmm.
Barbara, question for you. What has the evolution of the website been over time? Like, has there been more information on it at some points, less information? Has there been a citywide update at certain points? Like
It's a couple, 3 years ago, the city updated the webpage and didn't consult us with that, and some things went missing from the city webpage. And as we've noticed what's missing, we've added that back on. I think it's pretty much what it's always been at this point. And if you have ideas and other things we should include, I'm open to that. But right now, it gives, I'm not sure what all on the page, but the minutes, and members of the commission, I think the newsletter's on there, quarterly report, agency report, probably more in a space that we've never.
I think that's about me.
We don't really have, like, anything do we have to get approval for anything we add to the webpage, or do you just add it?
I just not able to completely edit it. I don't know if there's a process that I'm supposed to follow, but
I
knew and I don't know. So
I wonder if we could kind of look at the website and think of ways to, I know there's a list of, relevant information, but I wonder if even just some of the language is very, it's not layperson language necessarily. And I wonder if we as a commission could work together to kind of pull together information that had very plain, accessible language, like some FAQs or, things like that.
We can look at that, sure.
Does anybody on the commission have thoughts about that or other ideas or?
Yeah, I think it'd be worth a project to take up for the commission. I know at our last meeting, we also talked about just doing a regular, recalibration to what the purpose of the commission is and doing more publicity around what the commission does and does not do. And so that might be something we talk about for future business, is putting together a subgroup of folks, a part of the commission, to revise some of the wording on the website, to speak clearly to the purposes of the commission, the jurisdiction of the commission, and then also think about ways we can do further outreach in terms of notifying the public of the work that the commission does. I know that we do have the newsletter that goes out monthly. That's a part of the report that Barbara has prepared. But to also update the website as a hub of information that folks might go to before they call or stop by, that I do think would be helpful.
I agree, Latasha. Barbara or Nicole, I was wondering also, is there data from the city on website traffic?
That's available from ICS. I know we could get that. It's been a while since I asked him about that, and I was curious how many people looked at our hate incident report, and the numbers were really, really low. That's probably 3 or 4 years ago. I can follow up on that.
It would be useful to have that data so we know how much time we should invest in a particular communication medium.
I'll see if I can get that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we could all have just a little bit of, take a little bit of time and make sure that we are making sure that our city literature is up to date and people know how to read it and know how to contact us when needed. Anybody else have any other further comments?
I'd move acceptance of the report.
What's that?
I would move acceptance of the report.
It has been moved that we accept the report. Do I have a second?
I second. Callaway Thomas.
Carolyn seconds. It has been moved in second. Would Nicole please read the roll?
Yes. Ryan?
Yes.
Jacob?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Byron?
Yes.
Latasha?
Yes.
And the first quarter report has passed, and we will now move on. I believe Michael is here to join us at this point. Is he not? Perfect. Michael.
Oh,
Hello.
Fine. Moving on to let Michael go ahead and discuss what he is planning on discussing today.
well, does Barbara want to tee me up?
Well, at the last meeting in February, the commissioners talked about wanting to know more about what other commissions in the city were doing and see how we can network better with maybe the CCA or the King Commission or probably other commissions at the CFRD. So if you can just tell us what kind of things your commissions are working on or other CFRD commissions are working on that you think might be of interest to the BHRC.
Okay, sure. So I have the MLK Commission and the Council for Community Accessibility as the two primary ones that you all might be interested in. In terms of the Martin Luther King Commission, it is pretty much exactly what it is, which the full title is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Birthday Celebration Commission, and it's all about the birthday celebration. That is really the big focus of it. And we are currently just working on getting the speaker for the 2021 event right now. So I'm looking at various names and going through that. The Council for Community Accessibility is, can I just say, extremely active. There are three very active committees. The Events and Activities Committee is usually has 3 events this year. The latest was canceled because it was a kind of a thank you for the businesses in Bloomington for being accessible, and that got canceled because you can't get out to those places and thank them if you can't go and they're not open. Then with the accessibility, the accessibility committee does the surveys themselves, and that's on hold currently, but we are working on a digital accessibility program to look at websites accessibilities of the places that we survey, because a lot of people use that before they go out to actual places. So people who are blind want to know what's on the menu, and people who are deaf might want to be able, or want to hear it, and people who definitely want to see it, but they may have other vision issues, and so we have to consider some of that. And finally, the Transportation and Mobility Committee is looking into funding for a wheelchair accessible vehicle, WAVES, they're called, to bring it for a taxi service in town so that people have true accessibility, because there is no wheelchair accessible taxis currently, and that's disappointing for people wanting to get around on a whim or things like that. And we are also finishing up a ride hailing grant where we trained trainers to train people on how to use Uber and then become more independent, and that's been going well. Currently, a couple things that we're looking into are taking the implicit bias training from CJAM. The council as a whole would do that. That's probably going to happen this summer. We just had a presentation by CJAM, and I think they're going to end up doing that. And we're also working, one of the events that we're doing, working on getting an Indiana Humanities Grant and bringing in a nationally recognized speaker to be part of that real successful event. Probably somebody like Judy Heumann, who is wrote a book and was recently in the movie called Crip Camp, and she's pretty much a major figure in starting the accessibility and disability rights movement in the 70s and 80s, and even now she's very involved and active. So the council's really active in doing a lot. Some of that may be relevant to all of you. In terms of some of the other commissions, I'm not quite as up on all that they're doing. I may hear about it fairly regularly, but you're focused on more of your own events. There are several, though. there's the Commission on the Status of Black Males and the Commission on Children and Youth, which are both done by Chatoya Moss. She's the staff person that does them, and they are stuck right now because of their events that they were planning, and those events having to be reconfigured or reorganized and things like that. So they're in a hold pattern right now. The Commission on Aging is pretty much most of them are on hold patterns because of their event, but the Commission on Aging and the Commission on the Status of Women are done by Sue Owens, and she's the staff liaison for them, and they're also on hold. They haven't held their last couple meetings. And finally, there's the Commission on Hispanic and Latino Affairs. It's run by Josefa Luz, and she is they're again no events, and so they're kind of stuck at the moment. And so that's the problem. Is right now without events, a lot of people are just in the kind of a holding pattern. Other things that we're doing in the department that might be relevant, we're going to start a kind of a forum for anybody who wants to come, but we're calling it People Helping People. It's probably going to be a weekly thing for now while COVID's dealing with it, and maybe going to a monthly, where we hold a Zoom session and allow people, we're going to market it to nonprofits, but it's for anybody who wants services that the government can offer or nonprofits can offer. So businesses may have things to donate, and other people may want to ask, how do you apply for CDBG funding, or how does that rapid response funding work, or issues like that. So we're going to be doing something like that as well real soon. And we also do the nonprofit board training, which we're going to be reconfiguring for Zoom. The Bloomington Volunteer Network is doing, that's in our department as well, and they're working on that. I should probably just stop there and breathe and ask if there's any questions.
Yes, Michael, thank you so much for that kind of detailed synopsis of what's going on with the commissions. I do have a question related to the information that might be collected by commissions. So our commission, the Human Rights Commission, in our last meeting talked about potentially working with other commissions to get more information on the experiences of individuals from protected classes. So I know you mentioned the CCA survey. If there's information about the experiences of people that live with disabilities that we could use to help inform kind of our work. And then also, I know the Commission for the Status of Black Males had done some like health disparities studies. And then I'm not sure if the Commission for Hispanic and Latino communities, if there's any data collection there, but I'm curious if you can give a snapshot, if you know of any of these kind of surveys and data, and where we might be able to start to share that information so that we can get a better idea of the experience of I guess protected classes in Bloomington. And that's one question. And then my second question is, as we talk about the protected classes, and as Bloomington has done its own kind of work of cleanup for homelessness, is there any plan in the future to do any work to support homeless shelters or individuals that might be battling with homelessness or just kind of shelter insecurity for the city of Bloomington?
Well, let me answer your second one first, just because wow, are we doing a lot for that, but it's all in terms of COVID. So the mayor started which probably most of you are familiar with, a couple task force, and those task force are looking at essentially making sure that the safety net is in a good space for post-COVID. Like, gee, this is, what are we going to do when this ends, because people are going to be in pretty, dire straits in some cases, especially the homeless population. And so they've started some task force, and there are 4 task force, one that deals specifically with shelter. I'm not on that one. I'm on the health and public safety one, which has a little bit more to do with disabilities and mental health and issues like that. But they also do one on food and food, shelter, and I'm blanking on the other one suddenly. And those task force are up and going. There are people at them that are discussing in great length a lot of the issues that are happening, and the people that are attending those are invited. So they represent a large, we're talking 30 to 40 people coming to these, and they represent a large swath of our community who come in and tell what's going on right now and where they're seeing issues and problems for the future. So those may be a really good source for you. There are reports being written and meeting notes being taken every week that they're meeting. So those may be accessible. Members of that it's being shepherded by Tina Peterson from Community Foundation, John Berida from the Bloomington Health Foundation, Diane Buzzell from the IU Health Foundation, and the city, which is Beverly, Calvin Anderson for some of it, and United Way, Afrat Pfefferman. So you absolutely could get materials from them about what's going on and what's currently happening, what's going to be happening to address sheltering issues. I did ask Afrat in a side conversation that you might be interested in about what were the nonprofits that were in the highest need category right now. And the answer she gave me was kind of interesting. Well, a little unexpected is that even though you would think that sheltering and food is in the highest need, and they definitely have very big needs, they're in much better shape than many of the smaller nonprofits like a Girls Inc. or a PALS or a Big Brothers Big Sisters, which frankly, she has, there's a chance that some of those may not even survive this if this goes on very long. Whereas the sheltering and food organizations are actually doing much better because they are having such a great influx of federal money. And that's a lot of when the COVID relief fund that United Way is doing, they also got it there. So that's what I can give you on the sheltering stuff. The data stuff, not a lot from the council. The people in the public health and public safety group asked me, what do we do to get more information? And so this session that I was just at right before this, the council's meeting, they went around and everybody was telling of their situations in terms of dealing with the isolation and the problems with COVID and what it meant to them. And I'm going to be compiling that into a small report and okay with sharing that because I'm not going to name names and send that to the health and public safety group. I'd have to check in with Chatoya and Josefa for the status of Black males and the Hispanic and Latino affairs one and let you know on those. I think that
I wonder whether I've been concerned about the number of homeless people who do not appear to have access to face coverings. And I'm wondering whether you have any information on that. I think that's the absence is a public health risk.
Yeah, I know that the fabric drive, which is the fabric face mask drive, which is has been nurtured by the Community Family Resources Department, is still going strong in terms of distribution. They recently passed them out at the city. Every department got a certain amount of them. I don't know specifically if they're trying to distribute them to that population, but at staff meeting tomorrow, I can bring that question up and let Barbara know what the answer is to that.
Thank you, because I've noticed abundant gatherings in the park, and there's no social distancing going on as far as I can determine.
Yeah.
No masks being worn as far as I can determine. So
yeah, we have seen that too and discussed that happening as well. I mean, it's pretty hard to prevent once Shalom has been pushed out. That's where they're moving to, is the park, and that's where they congregate. And it's definitely a situation.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
Michael, I'd be curious, you mentioned what agencies might be in greatest need at this point. And it's not necessarily those providing food, for example. I'm planning to use my $1,200 from the government, if and when it comes, to give it away. And it's not something that I need at this point in my life. And the question is, where would it do the most good?
You know, I too have already been writing my checks for my $1,200. Is like, that's great that I get it, but I know that the agencies need it way more. And I've personally, I immediately, I've been splitting it up, and I gave mine to the big chunk of it to the United Way COVID Relief Fund. My logic on that is, having been a little biased, I've been a past United Way board member, although it was clear back in the 90s. But my bias towards United Way is that they are the organization in Bloomington that has their pulse on the needs of this community more than any other. And they are, from my perspective and numerous others that I've talked to, are doing a fantastic job in addressing that in terms of distribution and dissemination of the funds that they're getting. And even the community foundation, although it's offering grants itself, they're turning around and have moved much of their money over to the United Way Relief Fund as well. But of course, individual organizations are sure appreciate any money that they can get as well. I named some of the ones that are small and are in need. I know that the ones that are large and really in need and having some struggles are both Life Designs and Area 10. I mean, all of them are having problems with staffing issues and other stuff, but Life Designs and Area 10 are the large agencies. The small one were Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Girls Inc. and Pals. And a couple that are doing okay in terms of money, but are just really challenged by being hit so hard and not ever being remotely prepared for this, are Mother Hubbard's Cupboard and Pantry 279. I also know that many of the arts organizations are really struggling right now, and a lot of them are going to have a big challenge in getting up and going after COVID ends, because so if they have any kind of social distancing, it's going to make it really difficult for them. So,
right.
But yeah, the number one is United Way.
Thanks for your perspective.
Yeah.
Michael, following up on Latasha's question, I just want to make sure I understood what you were saying about the data stuff. So if we're looking for, say, like a report or a couple reports that would show what inequities might exist for different protected classes in Bloomington, there's not necessarily like a particular staff member we would go to. It's more spread among multiple, and so we'd have to like take that approach. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I mean, you could, well, you might actually start with Beverly Callender Anderson, because she's the city person who is most connected into the social services groups that are dealing with the food, shelter, health issues. And one other I'm just blanking on. She's the one who's from the city, is most closely connected to all those. There are other people from the city that are involved in those in various groups. And of course, like I said, the foundations and United Way are all there. So if you had some great contact, you could go to them. But if, from the city perspective, she'd be the person to be able to get any reports or anything like that from you. She goes to most of those meetings, and I know she receives all the notes and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and if you want, I'm happy to let her know that that's what you're looking for, and see what she wants to do, and hook her back up with Barbara too.
Yeah. And then my final question. So you were talking about the Community Council on Accessibility. So how it sounds like you all go after grants and such. Are the commission members assisting with that work? Or is that more you?
Yeah, so sort of. And so the Council for Community Accessibility is not actually a commission. It's a little bit of an odd bird. Just a history. It was started right after 30 years ago. Actually, it was started a month or two before the ADA passed because the mayor at that time, Tommy Allison, said, I want to get out in front of this. And so she started it back then before it was even going, but they never made it into a commission. It's a little bit of an odd bird. Regardless, the way it works at this city is any grants that are done by me. I work with usually a council member or two on a specific grant. It's probably only an average of one a year, but sometimes it's a couple a year depending on what we get. So we sometimes get a grant from the Indiana ADA, and then Indiana Humanities. It's pretty easy to get grants from too. So those are possibilities. But yeah, I do the work for it. It's joint in terms of the idea and the thing, but it has to be submitted by me. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Other questions?
No, thank you.
Hope that was useful.
Yes.
Thanks, Michael.
Excellent.
Thanks for tuning in.
So I will say goodbye to you all, and I hope you have a great rest of the meeting and a good evening.
Thank you.
All right.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Yeah.
Have a good night. Okay. We are on HRC inventory, and Jacob has asked to table that for now. So we are moving on to the petition for IU's World War II treatment of Japanese American students. Barbara, would you like to give us a synopsis, please?
Certainly. In your packet, there was a draft petition where a number of people are petitioning IU to do something about the fact that during World War II, I think 11 or 12 Japanese people applied to be students at IU, and IU rejected them on pretty racist grounds. That Japanese will never be part of our society. I'm quoting them, something to that effect. And people organizing this petition think IU should do something to make amends for that, and they're asking people throughout the community to sign it. I don't know any details other than that. I received it from someone months ago. I don't remember who sent it to me, but I thought it might be something you guys would want to consider signing up to.
Anybody have any comments about this at all?
I would just like more specific information regarding what we're supposed to do, could do, might do. So if we could get more information, I'd be pleased.
I'd agree that it's important to know how the response would play out in terms of action. But the position IU took was certainly an egregious one. I've read what was stated at the time. I mean, it was very racist and bigoted kind of statement. So I would support.
And I'm just reading the petition again now, and they're asking IU to rectify its World War II era ban on many Japanese American students by admitting that the decision to ban Japanese American students was wrong, providing funding for research, creative activities, teaching, and public-facing programming related to Japanese American incorporation, and issuing retroactive diplomas to Japanese Americans denied admission to IU during World War II.
And that comes from what group of, Barbara, I'm sorry. Who is it?
I don't know. And, I believe it was a professor that I started.
I thought it was a professor as well.
Okay.
I of course think IU should state its position was wrong, and I'm supportive of the intention of the petition, but the thing that I struggle with for petitions is that if you don't agree with the specific items on it, then you can't sign it. And I would I mean, I think these are great, and like there's even more we could do or go beyond just providing funding for research, or maybe that's not the most impactful way to change, you know, human rights for this group of people. And so I'm wondering if there are ways we could be supportive of the cause, but not necessarily put our name on these specified solutions, especially if we don't know who like came up with these solutions.
So could we table that in the interest of time, so we'll have more time to talk about it, because it seems like it might be something very important for us to discuss in a more
Barbara, do you
serious
have any
way.
objection to tabling?
Yeah.
Could I interject? Carolyn, I think I would agree more with what Jacob had to say than with the idea of tabling. I think we probably would have a consensus that we might not want to agree to all the particulars of the petition. I mean, I would agree with number one. I might agree with number two. I'm not sure about retroactive diplomas. That's one I would have significant reservations about. I don't know what the ramifications of all that are, and I'm not sure what the point of that would necessarily be. So it's not that I need more information, it's that I don't agree with the whole package.
Okay, I suppose I need more information. I
Yeah.
simply can't vote without having more information to guide my decision.
I can try to get you more information by the May meeting. I'll find out who put this together, see if there's been any action taken at all. And certainly, if you don't want to sign this petition, but you want to do something, you want to make a statement, you can send a letter to Lauren Bell, who used to be the chair of the VHRC many years ago, and to the board, and say, we support in general the idea of the petition, and we encourage, and something supporting it without actually signing the actual petition. And that seems possible.
Okay, we will see what happens between now and the May meeting and move on from there. So we will go on to our Facebook discussion at this point. And Nicole put in our packets a little memo. If you have yet to see what that memo entails, feel free to read it over. She talks about what we can post on our, in terms of content, flyers, for example, flyers, content from other human rights pages, and so forth and so on. But I'm going to let Nicole really touch on this right now. So Nicole, take that over.
Yeah, so I put a big list together, and some of them I took from the former memo from Jessica as well, because there were a couple ideas that I didn't have. So I included some social media guidelines as well, based on the algorithms that Facebook uses. Facebook overall rewards popularity. And so anytime that someone is clicking or engaging with a post, it makes you more popular. So whether that's a long post that you have to click to finish reading, or sharing it, reacting, commenting, and the like. And then of course, whatever the city requires for social media accounts. Because being new, I don't really quite know that or know the process. Maybe Barbara, no, all right. And then I have to look into that a little bit more. But the goal on social media, and especially with a platform like Facebook that rewards popularity, is to post at least once a day. I did take a look at the Facebook for the CCA, and they post at least once per day, Monday through Friday. Is kind of what I've seen for April. Sometimes it's more, sometimes I don't think I saw any days that were missed, but that of course social media is not the end all be all to successful marketing and public relations. And what is also really important is kind of sum up the beyond social media section would be goal setting and measuring those goals, poising yourself as an industry expert, and I gave some ideas on that, and you don't have to necessarily do anything with that, and then just being present in the community as a whole. So to continue some of the things that you guys have been doing, such as tabling and parades, whenever those resume. And then I also put some example posts from various human rights commissions across the country. So they're sharing things like census information, little quotes or something for International Women's Day. They're sharing what to do if you think that you have been harassed or discriminated against based on your race or COVID. Kind of this day in history things. When they have speaker events, a kind of speaker spotlight, and you could also do a commissioner spotlight. And then the last page that I included was just the kind of information page that might be a disclaimer that you want to include, and it just says that the commentary found on this page is not the official position of the Des Moines Human Rights Commission or the City of Des Moines or its officials. So something here about that.
Does that mean it's a public recognition?
Yeah.
Nicole, thank you for pulling out the really good examples of how we can really utilize our social media, whether that's through Facebook, Instagram, however we may do it. And Facebook has made it easier now for us to also share through Instagram. So I'm seeing a lot of these posts that are just single photos, and that's perfect for sharing both to Instagram and to Facebook. And I think that's probably going to be the way of the future, especially heading towards Instagram, because that's the way the kids are going now. So we will see how that works out. Does anybody have any questions for Nicole on what we need to do to go ahead and get our account up and going and running at this point?
Yeah, I do. Nicole, there was a portion when you were talking about, I believe, the city's pages, and maybe I misheard what you were saying there. But did you get the opportunity to speak with anyone from the city in terms of what parameters we might need to have in order to go ahead and initiate the starting of these pages? I know the Office of the Mayor has a page, several of the commissions have pages, and so I'm curious if there's any other kind of last hoops we need to jump through to just go ahead and initiate creating a page.
I have not pursued anything with the process from the city. The focus was to kind of present some ideas and options. And what I guess I should add is I started right before all of this virus stuff. And so as I've known my position, I have plenty of time to plan ahead and create posts, but I don't entirely know what all would be entailed when we're in normal times. And that's assuming that after the virus, it goes to a previous normal. And isn't just a new normal, so.
Sure. Thanks. I do want to say thanks again, Nicole, for preparing kind of this proposal. I think it's a really good example, at least the screenshots that I've seen, of how commissions in other areas engage their followers in the social media. And I think it's a good model for us to try to follow after. In terms of good content to post, I think you've already listed some good examples in terms of flyers of upcoming events. I know that we do the monthly newsletter, and if we had social media, maybe we could share an electronic version of that on social media. And then in other organizations that I'm a part of, the members of the organization have a shared folder where they just drop content that's relevant to the work that the organization is doing into that shared folder. And then the social media coordinator just shares that content on an as needed basis. So I know you mentioned some of these organizations are posting every day, but if we want to say BHRC just wants to do one post a week, then each of the commissioners can, share content in this shared folder. And then Nicole, you can pick the content that you think we can share and how it should be shared, whether if it's a link to an article or whether it's, as Ryan mentioned, an image with a quote that has to do with human rights issues. But we can kind of, as a commission, work together to make sure that we get good content for you to post. And then in social media, a lot of people also post what other people are posting. So if one commission posts an article, if we follow that commission, we can reshare that content once we've reviewed it and see that it's relevant to the work that we do as well. So I'm happy to help and support Nicole in whatever way you might need support, if and when we're prepared to go ahead and get started in terms of having a presence in social media. And I think it's going to really help us gain some more visibility for and from the community members in Bloomington.
Barbara, what do we need to do at this point to formally get the ball rolling on our social media channels?
I think we need to develop exactly what kind of content we wanted to initially start posting, and then talk to whoever in the mayor's office is dealing with this these days. I'm not sure who that is. And just, we can find it now. One person, it might be Andrew. It might be Andrew. Yeah, we think it's Andrew. We'll find out. And I think what was just being discussed is important. Right now, Nicole and I probably got time to work on content, but when things get back to normal, we are going to need for the commissioners to be coming up with some ideas, whether it's just, to write an article about your perspective on the BHRC or something you came across. We're going to need your help to keep it active, or otherwise it's not going to meet that, not demand, but the policy of trying to get at least one new thing a day.
That's fine. If we can go ahead and is there the ability for us to go ahead and have the pages created at this point, and that way we can move forward, and you can copy me in the emails or the entire commission, and we can go forward from there.
I'll contact Andrew tomorrow, and it's hard to know when people get back to you these days, but I'll see what the next steps are, and we can start figuring out what we want to post initially and try to get something out of the ground.
Yeah, I mean, is that the two things when Natasha was speaking, in kind of public relations circles, the mindset is that it's better to not have a social media account, and that is sometimes used to say, you don't want to jump in and have 5 different accounts and not be active on all of them. You should be. It's better to not have them than to be inactive. But that's just kind of what is said. And then it might be prudent to have some sort of process that you guys come up with as to determining who shares and what. Will there be a commission member that would help out managing it? Is that allowed by the city? That would be one of the questions. And are there these certain things are okay, but maybe we don't want to touch on these topics.
Okay. Well, let's try to get to the bottom of those issues and have our social media accounts up and running, hopefully by the next meeting. And if we just need to do this via email thread and figure it out, that will be perfectly fine.
can do that.
Perfect. Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
for all your work, Nicole.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Nicole, for getting this up and running. And I know this is a task, but we've been speaking about it and talking about it for almost a year now, and it's probably time for us to get moving on it. So let's try to do our best in that realm. Moving on to the 4th of July parade. Is that even going to happen, Barbara?
I put that on the agenda being optimistic. If it does happen, I have no inside information. Are you all interested in participating? I just want to get a nose count and make sure we want to do it, and I'll watch for it.
If so, I will be there.
I will be there.
I will plan to be there.
And we'll have to figure out what we're giving away. We don't want to order anything at this point, but we'll figure that out.
Tabling opportunities, farmers market, justice fair, and other events. Also,
Being optimistic, yeah. And if there are table opportunities, summer, are any of you interested in doing that? If you're available, if the market goes back to normal, or the justice fair is going to be scheduled sometime in the fall, and other things. Are you guys interested in doing that?
Yes.
also a yes.
And if you see opportunities that I missed, please let me know.
Excellent. Thanks again, Barbara. Okay, assignment of new cases.
We have one new case to assign. It's a race discrimination employment case. The answer is due today, and I was told it would come to me in email before midnight tonight. It's against a nursing home. And I haven't had a case recently. Latasha, I don't think you've had any cases, have you?
I have not had any cases since I joined in February, so I'm happy to assist in whatever way possible.
Okay.
Now is the time, Latasha.
I get to get active.
Carolyn, don't throw Latasha under the bus.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's a maiden voyage.
Right. I got to be
Latasha,
brave and get out there. So I'm happy to help, Barbara. You said it's with a nursing home.
It's against a nursing home. I don't want to say all the details to everybody. But
Okay, gotcha.
Make sure you don't have a conflict of interest, and then we'll send you the file if you don't have a conflict.
Okay, gotcha.
Do we have any other business?
And no public input from what I can tell.
We had one member of the public that tuned in and then left. So I see and hear no public.
I have one thing, Ryan. I'm just curious, in general, how the Human Rights Commission, I think COVID-19, obviously everybody knows this, has demonstrated the inequities that already existed before it. And I'm curious how the Human Rights Commission in the long term can turn an eye toward those inequities by looking at data or other things to make sure when pandemics or natural disasters or other things happen that they don't impact people in the same way. So hopefully we can keep looking at data and come up with goals. And I really think Nicole's section in the memo about it's great to have social media and other things, but we need to look also beyond that and think about what are our quarterly goals or other time periods so we can start making change.
And we can sit down and speak up and talk about that a little bit further. I think that's a great idea. Something that we probably should be doing, and we can get on with as soon as we can.
And I do want to say that there's always lots of thought-provoking. Well, this is my second meeting, but in each meeting, I think there has been some really thought-provoking questions that can really help us center and calibrate our work. And I'm wondering if there's ever been a model where we've just had kind of like a commission retreat or strategic planning session where we can really get to dig into these topics because I am noting that because of our time constraints, we don't always have the ability to really dive into some of these deeper discussions about, as Jacob mentioned, inequities and ways that the BHRC can assist. And so I would like to at least note for the minutes that at some point, if it might be worth it to consider kind of a strategic planning or some type of retreat meeting where we really get to set out those goals that Jacob mentioned, whether they be annually or quarterly, in addition to the work that we're already trying to continue in terms of the newsletters, responding to complaints as they come in, and getting more updates to our website and social media presence.
It's a really good idea, Latasha, I think.
We did have one retreat probably 30 years ago, and frankly, I can't remember one detail about it. So maybe it's a good idea to do that again.
Probably time for another.
Yeah, and I think I remember Byron in our first meeting talked about, was it bylaws or the Constitution? So bringing those documents back to life and kind of figuring out what it means for us now might be a good thing to think about as we plan things.
Absolutely.
I call for adjournment, please.
Does anybody have any other issues or comments? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you all for attending.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Good to see you all.
Bye all.